Pantheon Syndra, very standard. The thing I love most about this draft is not that blind pick Ornn, that I find generally questionable, but it's Rekkles' bicep. This is something we never get to see. I didn't know we had this photo, Frostgurn, but that chunky Rekkles bicep right there, that's the kind of energy he's bringing to this game, I feel like.
Drakos, look, it's us!
Yay! Wait, this is great. I love this from Rogue.
It is great. Yeah.
But the problem...
Yes, right. Yeah, Rekkles has really nice tattoos. I always admire them. Super cool. You get to see them there. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow.
You didn't have to follow up on that.
You threw the ball, and I had to go get it.
No, you didn't have to go get it. You said it's us.
Okay, right.
You transitioned us out. Don't bring us back to the bicep point.
Then I'm going to completely... A lot of easy blind pickable champions, as well as comfort picks, like the Azir for Larssen that Yamato talked about on the analyst desk, so... I still feel that it's going to be an Ornn mid, but we'll see. There's the Yuumi that we talked about.
Taking away the scaling champs means you have to take something potentially a little bit more volatile in it. I wonder if we see his core key banned away as well. But yeah, you said it. The Yuumi now taken off the board, so the standard kind of Ezreal Yuumi bot lane will be limited away. Have to see where into the champion pool Hylissang wants to reach. Obviously, a guy that...
And very safe solo lanes for Rogue here. You have a good bridge champion with Larssen to get them through the early game. Viktor also does spike exceptionally well because he has cost-efficient itemization and a super powerful bot lane. Like, you have all the ingredients that Rogue really need, and that they have decent scaling potential. They have a top laner that can play weak side really well because it's still dangerous to dive with Vladimir, and then they have the ability to get priority in their lanes with Viktor and Rakan to help set up Inspired when he wants to make those sideline dives. And on the other side, it's Sett, baby!
See if they can lay down the punch. I like it. I love everything about the Sett support. I want to see exactly how this will work out. If you can interrupt the knockup, there's so much to say for this team composition, and it's confirmed. So now we are going to have that passive farm fest on the top side of the map, potentially passive in mid lane as well. But Frostgurn, while I love the spiciness, the craziness of this Fnatic composition, I gotta say the scaling from Rogue looks pretty sick, and it's not like they don't have an early game either, so my hopes for Rogue have just increased on the back of this draft.
I mean, I think it's really clear how Rogue wants to play their team fights. Like, it's a very standard composition. That said, I don't feel that Rogue clearly have this scaling. We always like to talk about this on the LEC, that especially for a champion like Ezreal, his scaling is relative to the champions that he's versus and who has access onto backline. So your dive threat for Rogue are going to be your Larssen and your Rakan, and potentially your Vladimir, depending on how he itemizes. You know, if he has like the proto belt, he flies back there, does a bunch of damage. But if Ezreal survives all of that, then he gets to hit you from afar, and he scales exceptionally well, despite the fact that a lot of people try to paint Ezreal as just like this, oh, the Trinity Force power spike, 2-item power spike. Like, no. Ezreal does lots of damage, and he, like, hyper scales into games as long as there's no threat to him.
All right, I'm ready to see it. Let's get into it. Our final game of Week 8, Rogue versus Fnatic. Alright, we got half of it, right? That was Rogue versus G2, but close enough. Rogue versus the top team, right? You take those.
Yeah.
Here we are.
We'll take them.
we'll take it. Alright, I mean, it wasn't quite the Fnatic pictures, but it works. Of course, key player of the game. You already voted for last game, get ready to vote again for this game. And now Rogue, going for the spicy level 1 tech against Fnatic. Always a bold strategy.
I may be entirely wrong, but I was just watching this VOD, so I'm going to go on the limb here. A team... Mad, I believe it was, actually tried this level 1 against Rogue, and they almost caught Finn because Finn always walks to that same brush, and they had all 5 members stacking up into that try to catch when the top laner walked forward. So I'm actually curious, like, what's happening behind the scenes to make that the level 1 maneuver, but obviously if you are 5-man stacking up there, you're trying to catch out an unsuspecting top laner walking into that brush.
Bwipo doesn't even take the risk, Frostgurn. And as important as like early jungle pathing is, especially in a game where there's a Larssen, I gotta ask you about Sett support. We've seen it. I've seen this, the rumors, the spicy tech. I know about the Hex Flash setup. I think that's cool. But like, what do you think about this champion?
I mean, Hex Flash I think is so crucial, and if you get priority over the brushes, I've played it a couple of times with Medic. You stand in that brush, you Hex Flash at people, and because of like how tanky your shield is and how much damage, you feel pretty free to do that. Now, obviously against a Xayah, running into her, she really, like, champions who run forward at Xayah, she excels into when she has access to pull back her feathers and then kind of, like, chase you down. So Hyli does have to be a bit careful about how he's going to set up on this one on Sett, just because I feel like his trading patterns are pretty binary and that he does have to run at you when Xayah likes that.
And see what Hylissang can do for now. Vander hovering in the bush, but interestingly enough, Rosker, and the other thing that we have to point out is that Nemesis has gone into the top lane to go toe-to-toe with the Vladimir in the early game. Meanwhile, Hylissang gets caught out. It's not going to amount to too much damage to the Haymaker there, and that of course means, in the meantime, that Bwipo's now in the mid lane against the Viktor. So I like that we're seeing the lane swap come out from Fnatic, still setting up Nemesis to play the comfort Cassio rather than swapping champions.
And it's going to be so easy for this Ornn to itemize because you are also dealing with Viktor and Vladimir. So even as Larssen and Finn kind of try to swippy swap if they want to get away or get around from this Ornn and try to get this Cassio again, like Bwipo doesn't get punished following them around the map. He's going to go for that Abyssal Mask and be completely fine.
That just feels so difficult then as we get more into the team fight phase. Even if the Vladimir and Viktor are obviously going to get more and more scary, those early to mid game skirmishes when he does have that first item, it's going to be nigh impossible for him to get shut down. And it's not like Ornn doesn't also do a lot of damage on this patch as well. Her Selfmade. Look this way bottom. You don't always expect the Ezreal lane to be the center of attention, but now the Sett will for the setup as well. The Facebreaker coming out from Hylissang. Hansama trying to run for his life. The Haymaker's already there. Good interrupt coming in from Vander. May have to give his own life from this one, but he's going to dash out to safety. Moving in with the barrel. Inspired's now here as well. They need to get a kill. And this fight could turn against them, but Inspired there to body block, and Rogue are going to walk away.
Yeah, and you called it right there. Vander really saving the day, making sure that he had the proper target selection to interrupt Selfmade. Selfmade with some creative pathing, now skirmishing the jungle.
Inspired potentially over-aggressive, but can just ward hop right out to safety. He does give up his trinket and potentially now the Scuttle Crab as well for that one, but good to kind of check to see if Hylissang was still in the area.
I think that's just some of Selfmade's creative pathing. You could tell that Hansama and Vander were trying to get the bounce off of the tower, but couldn't quite get there in time. Like, you don't necessarily expect Gragas to be there at that point. The fact that he, like, hard cleared and then sprinted bottom, ran past all of his card camp, saw the gank opportunity, and then tried to force it there. And again, credit to Vander to make sure that Fnatic couldn't punish it. Ah, there we go. There's some of the cool tools as you see how Rakan is using his W to get around the Sett. What is it called? The face pull?
Yeah, the Facebreaker. The little pull in there.
Facebreaker. Haymaker, Facebreaker. What's the Q called?
Double down. Double down. That's my.
I'm really testing your knowledge here.
I'm not. I could look. I could press tab and I could guess, but I'm just actually going to play the game. And now Hylissang might be losing as well. Big haymaker.
Oh my god!
Not gonna quite be enough. Vander clenching on that one as he zooms his way out to safety. But Hylissang lives too. That passive health regen. Is
Selfmade. Okay,
oh,
everyone's gonna walk
He's not
away.
Gonna take it. Oh no, except for Bwipo. Here we go. Big plays, big whips.
Oh, he got out!
Nothing. Vander can't die. He's actually immortal. They've thrown everything they can at this little Rakan, and he simply refuses. Well played again by Vander.
That is so well played from Rogue. They've survived two just nefarious ganks there from Fnatic. I'm trying to think of a better word right there, but so clutch from Rogue to just scrape out of that one. As we now see the TPs come, I'm looking at top lane, like, did Bwipo sacrifice anything for that? No, Bwipo timed it perfectly, because again, he's not the top laner, he's the mid laner.
He's going
just got
mid,
trolled hard. Yeah, he just walked, never mind. I was like, what did he burn?
And imagine Nemesis right now. He's sitting pretty, right? Like, normally he has to worry about roaming, moving all across the map, and now he's just chilling, playing Farmville and top lane with the Viktor, while Bwipo has to, I don't know, dive tier 2 bottom to try to get a kill on Vander. And I think this is the thing we have to...
It was also a TP from Nemesis. Okay, there we go. Found it. I was like, someone had to lose somewhere here for Fnatic to get all 4 members to play on bot side, because you had the double TP. Like, Bwipo TP'd back into lane, walked from mid lane, but Nini TP'd down there. But look at his CS. He's fine. He's even with the Viktor, and he's ahead of the Vladimir. So, like, Nemi must have hard shoved the way forward and then found the perfect window. Like, Fnatic didn't get punished for that at all.
Solid, and the only advantage they have is the Finn TP, and if they don't do anything with it, it won't amount to much. Vander once again making out with very little health, but once again, Fnatic are committed to extending this play. The Predator activated from Gragas. Inspired is here, he's only level 4. Here comes the horn. How much longer can Vander live? He's going to flash out from that one. Hansama's still alive, throwing down a few feathers. In fact, once again, walk away empty-handed. They're getting so much pressure, they're limiting so much CS, they're going to grab tower plates, but they can't find a kill.
Huge shout out to also Bwipo. That's now 2 really successful roams, even though it hasn't equated to any sort of kills. You just talked about the CS, the gold, the experience, the plates, the damage that Fnatic are doing into this bot lane, and it kind of goes back to the age-old mantra of like, do you really want to try to attack Fnatic in the bot lane? It feels like almost Xayah Rakan at this point, where like we just need a really strong bot lane to deal with Fnatic, and they are not able to like put their foot on the gas and try to do anything other than survive this right now.
Yeah, and you're at the point where when Hylissang has an XP advantage and no one really has any items in this lane, Sett is a very big threat. Later, we can just expect the initiation, the haymaker, the big fat ultis, but for now, even with no items, just base stats on any kind of juggernaut are going to make it so hard to actually win any kind of 2v2 all-in, so Rakan is very much on the back foot.
Want to shout out, again, just how organized Fnatic are into their lane assignments and when they're walking back to the lanes. It was the fact that Bwipo, again, roamed from mid, tried to make a gank down bottom, zoned them off the tower, and then walked immediately top to catch a crashing wave. If he hadn't gotten that wave, suddenly Bwipo was like, what, 15, 20 CS down? But because he did, he's now, again, completely even with the Vladimir, who, while not technically his lane opponent, it's the fact that, like, Fnatic picked their windows and they set up the map so well for these plays that they're trying to do. A lesser team would have been really heavily punished on a roam like that because they wouldn't have timed the waves well enough.
And that's something that you've talked about a lot when it comes to Fnatic. How good they are at always making sure they get that wave, always making sure that they are taking, honestly, like, ultimately low-risk plays because of how good they are at moving across the map and minimizing that risk in the first place. But now we see Finn getting aggressive on the top side. Nemesis has to run for his life, trying to lay down a bit more damage. He's going to miss it on the ulti, and should just be a matter of time before he drops. He's going to walk back into turret, just trying to buy time, just trying to mess with the waves, just trying to get as much as he can, but will get taken out for first blood. Well played by Finn.
Very patient. Ooh. Meanwhile in the river, who got it?
Inspired? No, Selfmade.
Selfmade got it.
Does manage to get that one. Inspired to walk out, but very close.
And now you immediately see the on-the-way ping for the mid lane. Bwipo probably going to get some plates here. Selfmade's not walking. He's actually going to go catch the top wave. I was going to say, are they going to immediately drop the Herald and cash in plates here for Bwipo?
And remember earlier, Finn didn't burn the TP, so now he is able to TP back to the mid lane, making sure that Bwipo doesn't get anything back. So, while Fnatic definitely controlled the pace in the first few minutes of the game, I like that Rogue are fighting back, that they're starting to make moves of their own.
But now it's kind of where do they attack next on the map. You look across in itemization, it's really the Viktor who's feeling pretty good. The Proto Belt's now completed for Vladimir. It's certainly going to help out his wave clear and give that much needed priority that the analyst desk was talking about. Rogue, they're not as, how do I want to phrase this? Wave priority is really important to them because it feels like it's obviously like a core fundamental of League, and for a team that is still kind of like young players building up their synergy, it's like the first building.
All right. Well, sounds like we've lost Indiana temporarily. Of course, the nature of the setup is a bit finicky, but I'll take over from here. That's right, folks. It's time for the Drakos solo cast. Potentially a temporary solo cast, but I've been here before. In 2016. It's been 4 years. Anyway, Finn's pushing into the mid lane. Interesting for anyone curious. The Cole has come out for the Vladimir. Obviously, very rarely would you see this, but when he expects to be laning against an Ornn, completely non-interactive, you might as well min-max your gold value out. It will be a positive gold as he moves later in the game, as it's already gotten the Proto Belt as well. Things pretty much just get easier for here. Now we have the full engage on the bottom side. Big Haymaker, but you can see every time CC is about to hit Hylissang, he uses the Haymaker. Cannot be interrupted by that knockup, and it makes it so difficult for Rogue to actually trade into him, to actually shred through that health bar, because unless they can win 100% all-in, they don't really have the sustained damage to work through the extra healing from the pots, as well as the passive. Now Fnatic set up to try to contest the Infernal Drake, but there are 4 members of Rogue here on the bottom side. They have TPs for Nemesis, but Bwipo's going to have to use the heal, or rather the Ignite, if he wants to get his own TP back, as he has used the Summoner Spellbook. A bit more kill pressure in the mid lane, but he's already mid, it's not going to amount to too much. It's easy for him to come to the next play. Forces out the Fool. Now he's going to look for the follow-up here. Big engage now coming in. Good damage from Finn. That's going to be a quick kill pickup for
All right, exciting stuff. Hello, Drakos. The surprise Ender has entered the building here to tap in for
hello
there.
Thank you. I was enjoying my time color casting, but you're here now, and there's a Herald being used mid, and I'm going to need you to stop talking again because we have a fight. That's going to be a kickback. Instantly, the Viktor ult comes out, but it's too little too late. Clean Flash comes in from Inspired, though, wants to get things started off, wants to go back in onto Selfmade, and he's going to grab that kill. Bwipo. Now, potentially, they're going to be in trouble, though, because here comes Nemesis TPing into the mid lane, wants to get more done. Focusing down his tower, but nothing is going to come from it.
Ooh, I like that punish a lot right there from Rogue. Now, with Selfmade down, you'd think maybe you can move in towards the Dragon at a time like this if you are Rogue, but Fnatic still hold control, and they might even want to do something themselves. Look at Bwipo and Nemesis running down into the river. Hansama and Vander are going to have to give up this tower, which just means Fnatic going to keep winning out in the gold. And with this control, too, I figured they can just reset after clearing this wave and look for an Inferno themselves.
And while Finn's been doing okay, and obviously you can see the CS for the Viktor is working really well, for a Xayah Rakan bot lane, I feel like Rogue are suffering a lot more than I expected them to. They are definitely getting the short end of the stick. A lot of it's how much attention was paid to the bottom side, but a huge, massive CS discrepancy between Hansama and Rekkles, which definitely not what they need when you're looking at a 3-item carry.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you this was all the 6 Sett support counter pick, but I think it has just been Fnatic pretty much as a team here. We see the replay one more time. It is a good start here from Fnatic to take out Finn, and then they think, hey, let's knock down some turret plates. But Inspired waited in this brush the entire time on this push, just saying, hey, can we get the TP in please now? Okay, good. And now they can come in and go for the squishy target, which has to be the correct option, and a really sick flash there from Inspired too. Didn't catch that the first time, but to dodge out from the cask meant that they were able to finish off the kill before the TP could come through.
And a bit tragic there because Viktor's one of the, I think, the worst champions at TPing in to do something. He's good at TPing for waves, he's good at TPing for position, but like when a Viktor TPs on you, you just walk away from him, right? And that's kind of what we saw there. As great as Inspired was, Larssen threw his ult down, Gragas dashed away. He had no mana, and he did nothing for the rest of the fight. So a bit of a sad state there for our boy Larssen. Despite the CS, the damage wasn't there. The setup doesn't really work when Viktor's TPing, and he's just not that menacing. In the meantime, after that replay, it looks like Fnatic have managed to secure the Infernal Drake for themselves, while Larssen just continues to get more resources funneled into him on this Viktor. Ezreal will come out, and Nemesis will return to the top side of the map.
Yeah, right now, Larssen is quite rich, even with all the lane swap shenanigans that had been going off. He's fully upgraded his Hex core as well, too, which is just going to continue to give him more and more AP per level. But Hylissang, uh-oh!
Knockups there, no chance to use the Haymaker, just deleted. And that is definitely the setup you want as a Viktor. Someone else locks him down, and you just got to push all your buttons and watch him die.
Yeah, that's the feels good right there, too, especially because Rift Herald's going to be spawning very soon, so Hylissang will have respawned by the time that the Herald does get onto the map, but don't think he should be able to run around fast enough. Look at this, though.
Up there on a Nemesis.
No.
They're running at him. Very difficult to leap into a Cassio, Ender. If you run face first into a Cassio, you're probably going to die.
I thought there was going to be some sort of sick ward hop over the wall and go flash, but he didn't have that.
Uses his ult, but Selfmade doesn't want to commit there, so I think the rest of the team will back off.
Okay, that's just a little awkward now, because now Selfmade's trying to get involved. Like, both teams just waiting to throw stuff out, but no ultimate on the Cassio means Selfmade's going in by himself.
Okay, I still have the proc Predator. We'll use it in the end. Vander trying to make it out. Huge flat forward. Hylissang now trying to find somebody to pull back. That's going to be the dunk down. Vander's going to be in trouble. Tries to buy a bit more time. The gravity field is there, and Vander finally drops. All this time, and finally Fnatic find their man. They take down the support from the bottom side.
Okay, like, real talk, though, that cask from Selfmade was so sick. Like, right on the edge, getting 2 targets knocked back beautifully. If you'll notice, Nemesis didn't get an assist there. That was just Hylissang and Selfmade that finished that one off, but just really insane stuff from him.
And now they're going to grab their second Herald game, which is just excellent. We'll let them break down another tower. Of course, plate's no longer really an objective, but Inspired has to be careful here. They're just going to kick Hylissang right in the face, send him out of that one. But Finn is now on the way in, and the Vladimir will do good damage, but because they're moving through the pinch, they're not really going to get a chance to contest this one. Hansama not going to be a massive threat as he pushes in from the side. Xayah just not scary at this point in the game.
Nope, not just yet. So it is Fnatic picking up all the objectives, it would seem, for now. Let's see this play one more time, because again, like, Nemesis lands the ultimate, but Selfmade wasn't feeling it right at the start. He's like, no, let's wait until Hylissang gets a little bit closer as he channels up the Predator. And then, even though everything goes wide at the start, I just want you to look at the picture-perfect ultimate right here on Vander and Larssen. A boom! Like, Larssen was standing right in the middle of that. He thought he was safe, but no, he got slammed back there. And then, of course, Hylissang comes in to help things out at the end as well.
Yeah, redemption for the Flash facebreaker that did not quite work out, but obviously Fnatic now starting to pull ahead in this game. They already have 3 towers to the 1 of Rogue. They're down in kills. It won't be consequential or that consequential because there's still 1,400 gold in the league, and Rekkles is about almost 2 items deep, whereas we have just now 1 and no boots 2 for Hans Sama, so things looking a little bit rough for the fights to come on the side of Rogue.
Now, the fun thing is that we're probably just going to keep getting 5v5 fights over and over and over again once our neutral objectives start spawning, because this isn't really a game where I feel like there's a ton of emphasis put on, like, going into a side lane. Like, sure, Cassiopeia and Viktor have TPs, but if they're matching up in a side lane, it's probably just gonna be like wave clear duty for both of those sides. Instead, like, you have some pretty beefy damage dealers, especially on the Rogue side with those AoEs of the Viktor plus Vlad later on. Like, I think both teams are gearing up for the full team fights.
And this is something that we've seen Rogue excel at in the past. You know, usually you think of Larssen as a big control mage player. Normally it's the Azirs and Corkis of the world, but the Viktor as well definitely fits into that category. And we've seen what Finn can do in team fights on the Vladimir too. So the later we go, the more faith I feel like I have in Rogue. And pretty easy to have that set up until Nemesis lands a beautiful, all the dunk down is there from Hylissang, and this is montage material. Hylissang will drop in the end of the gravity field, but a beautiful turn from Fnatic turns disaster into a 1-for-1.
Yeah, it ends up being even overall because that was a classic Rogue play. You will notice in every single game that Rogue plays, it is inspired in Vander, like, walking into side lanes, like, can we find the pick here or there, can we make this happen? And it's often how they can either get their leads or try and convert it into a little bit more. So just the fact that Nemesis was able to fire back right there is able to stop the bleeding just a little bit. To be fair, though, without any objectives on the map, it probably wouldn't have converted into much anyways. We'll see it one more time because, like, again, Rogue think they have the jump here. They are going into the Fog of War, though, with the control ward over, and it is the triple stun there from Nemesis. Really nasty stuff, meaning that Larssen just couldn't get the damage down onto him.
Yeah, and we see Vander just barely able to touch him with just the end of the quickness as he dies. So good turn, good quick reaction to the play happening in front of them. Rogue's still able to get 1, so it's not the end of the world, but obviously giving up so many resources means it's that much easier for Fnatic to take an objective like this. And keep in mind, we do still have the Herald available for Selfmade. So when Fnatic want to push next, they have everything that they want to set it up. They've got an Ezreal to kind of poke down into the tower. They've got a ton of hard engage. They've got the Ornn ult too. And I think if you're Rogue, you have to just be ready to turn and burn and take the fight.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to have to be ready to go for the 5v5s. You know who else is ready to fight? Is Hylissang in the bot lane. He doesn't think he's a support, though. I think he's a little confused. He went for the dead man's plate here on the set, just try and run people down. This is kind of a fun one, because it's something you'll see a lot when you've got the melee tank supports with a fasting Senna. He's got an Ezreal in this game, though, but still, I can sort of see the merit, right, when you consider Sett's problem is all about target access, so it's either that or a righteous glory when you're trying to speed people down and lock them up here, so I'm curious how that'll play out when we get later in.
Sneaky Finn. That's a big flank.
He literally did
He's
this
waiting.
same play yesterday.
He just missed, though, on the Tides of Blood. That's going to be a little bit awkward there. The kick going to come through and not going to hit the target they want. Everybody's missing their ultimates left and right, and nobody's going to get a kill, unless Vander has something to say about it. But no, Blasco potentially going to take them out. Nemesis does get taken down, so it's a bit chaotic to start. But now Bwipo's caught in no man's land. Good news is, no physical damage present in this fight quite yet, so Bwipo just gets to have a heyday. And now Rekkles is here for the cleanup, the dunk down. Hylissang trying to make some value out of that dead man's plate, and now Hans Sama just barely able to escape. A beautiful snare there on the back of the fight.
Yeah, Fnatic somehow are always able to turn around these classic Rogues plays, because I can promise you, if you go back to 25 minutes in Rogue's game yesterday, Finn is sitting in that same bush waiting for his team to come so they can get a pick onto a side laner. So, like, Fnatic are just being aware of this and monitoring their side lanes very, very well. This is something that they are very strong at, is knowing how to play the overall map, and is one of the things that puts a gap between them and the rest of the teams, you know, towards the middle of our pack.
And I think just this is such an important game for Fnatic too, that they're able to counteract these plays, they're able to find these wins, because this locks them top 4. And when you look back at this play, I'm going to be honest, it's an absolute mess ender, but all that matters is that they make the best out of it.
Yeah, the Hemo Plague. Oh no, it's the Tides of Blood that ends up missing. Okay, so not quite as bad as I thought, but the Nemesis ults the completely wrong direction. Both teams are like, wait, should we keep fighting? I guess so. flash over the wall to finish that one off, but at that point they have extended themselves pretty far, and Rogue get locked up in a really awkward position based on the terrain. They get split up, and it just means that Larssen doesn't really have a good way to escape from this fight unless he was to ult a little, or flash rather, over that wall a little bit faster like Hansama did.
Ooh. And now as we look back at this, I'm just starting to wonder, when do Rogue finally find this fight? Because they're fishing. With everything they have, they are fishing. We can go back, if you want, Ender, talking about Animal Crossing, but this
dude, I was hoping
you
you
were ready.
that.
You were ready. I know what you've been doing. I know you haven't slept yet. I know it's all you've been doing all night long. I know you're in debt to that capitalist raccoon. I know your life right now. It's everybody's life right now. There's nothing else to do.
Nook is a good man.
All right.
What about fishing? Sorry, I was just thinking about Animal Crossing.
You're fine. Hold it down. I took us off the rails. I have to put us back on. I was thinking that Rogue are just, it feels like Rogue are super duper fishing for these plays as a way to like stall out and buy more time to get later in the game. Is that a wrong read on this situation? Because otherwise, if they're not doing it to buy more time, I don't see why they wouldn't just, I don't know, wait for another item when they're getting really, really strong.
No, I mean, I think they definitely can, right? Especially when you have a Vladimir. Vladimir is just always going to offer you so much insane value later in the game. Like, he'll be able to jump into the Fnatic backline and, like, solo zone away those two players, which just buys so much space and time for Larssen and Hansama to get a ton done. So, you know, let him finish off the Zhonyas or the Rabadons. Maybe, you know, I'm not sure which direction he's going to go out of those two items just yet, but, like, let him get those items, and you're always going to have a ton of value the later we do get.
Now Bwipo trying to get things kicked off. Hansama potentially in trouble here. Fight won't break out. And it's interesting because while Bwipo, probably unkillable, has MR, we do have some pen coming in from Vladimir now. That's going to be pretty huge. Not a lot from Viktor. No one else on Fnatic has opted to buy any form of MR outside of the Merc Treads on Selfmade. So they are going to be super vulnerable to this combo if Rogue can pull it out. On the other side, though, the only AD source right now is Hansama. Maybe you could argue the Lee Sin, although I think Inspired maybe not the most reliable carry in a full-on front-to-back team fight. And Hansama is hurting this game. He is incredibly behind the clock.
Yeah, he needs money now because, I mean, Rekkles has been, you know, sped up even further past him thanks to the Trinity Force. He has to be sitting on a lot of money as well. Like, Hansama should have a finished Zeal item. Yeah, there it is, the rapid.
But right as we say that, now we see on the opposite side that we've got the Hex Drinker coming in from Rekkles.
Yeah.
So
look, there's still a big gap. That is an 1,800 gold gap between the two carries, but it wasn't quite as dire, I think, as it looked before Hansama had come back to base. Now, that being said, I actually think one of the most important items in this game is what Bwipo is elected to go for. He got a Lock of the Iron Solari, which scales with your max HP, so Bwipo's going to be able to pop that and soak up a ton of the AoE damage coming through from the two AP solo laners of Rogue. And as soon as you're able to put that down when a Hebo play comes through, that all of a sudden gives your backline the ability to be not so scared when a Finn is diving into you, especially when he only is sitting at about, you know, 2.5 items right now. He's not at the point yet where he can cut through the Locket Shield plus the Seraph's Embrace shield plus the Hex Drinker. Like, there's so much that he's going to have to get through, and honestly, I don't think he's going to be able to do that for quite some time.
And I think the thing that we're looking at here, like, if we want to classify in weapons, like, Fnatic are the machine gun, right? They can just keep firing. They got the Ezreal, they got the Cassio. Rogue are a shotgun, because they don't have a tank. They don't have a front line. They go all in, they blow all their cooldowns. If they kill you, they win. But if they miss their shot, I don't know, the 2 minutes it takes them to reload, they're all going to die. They're all instantly, the fight is over. So all execution on the side of Rogue against a team like Fnatic, who are so good at playing out in situations like this, it's a tall task.
Yeah, it definitely is, especially because there's a lot of, like, dive tools on the side of Fnatic, too, so if you're not able to get that initial fight, like, you're going to get chased down by a Sett, by an Ezreal, by an Ornn. Like, all of these champions do have very good reach and ability to make sure you're never going to be able to escape back to the safety of your tower. So Rogue for now just buckling down, but they're not going to be able to do that for much longer because, again, I think an Ocean Soul in a game like this is going to absolutely kill Rogue. You know, if you can't get that 100-0 burst threat from a Vladimir onto the backline, well, then you're not going to have that many good options the later we get into this game. So 3.5 minutes, I feel like Rogue are going to have to be able to draw the line then.
For now, Rogue just have to find some vision around this Baron pit. We take a look at the map, and it's absolute control for Fnatic. The gold that they have is not insurmountable. Really, it's not. They've got scaling, too, on the side of Rogue, so it doesn't feel like the end of the world. But as you said, that Ocean Soul, the Baron buff, these are things that Rogue cannot afford to give up, or suddenly the game becomes nigh impossible to win if Fnatic are playing it out well. Now Rogue's still fishing for these picks, still maybe looking to set up onto Bwipo, trying to bait him in, but Bwipo is absolutely not afraid. Fnatic have the necessary vision, they've got the pressure in the mid lane. This gives them clear access to the Baron pit and into the jungle of Rogue. Rogue kind of in dire straits.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't have good options, right? How do they force a fight? Well, it's either a flank from Vladimir or probably a Rakan going in. Rakan, very squishy, very vulnerable, means that unless you're absolutely sure, you're never going to pull the triggers. So you keep seeing them trying to slide into these side lanes and make something happen. But with the amount of control Fnatic have over the map and how their lanes are all pushing in, it's a very different situation to, you know, the game state 10 minutes ago. Here we go, though.
Before the knockup comes through, he's going to use the Unstoppable, he's going to turn his sights on Han Sama. The TP now coming in, the rest of Rogue can look to collapse, but a TP responded. Rogue are looking, they see their fight, they see the opportunity, they see the setup, but Hylissang sees a chance to dunk down, and here comes the Ornn ultimate as well. Vander now running, Han Sama unable to get any damage down. Larssen not going to get knocked back to the team. The Banshee's Veil saving his life in that scenario. Ezreal coming in, but it's not going to amount to much. Just a single pick, but that is jungler down for the side of Rogue, and that spells disaster because Fnatic just set their sights on the Baron.
Yeah, Fnatic can take this so easily. I mean, Fnatic, I've never seen a team more willing to take 4v5 fights, because Rekkles was mid lane that entire time, but they still come up so big. Now Rogue, if they give up Baron, the game might as well be gone. They have to do something.
Larssen stepping forward, a lot of damage can come in. The face breakers there, Selfmade. Already has taken down the Baron, but still they're going to try to take the fight. Bwipo definitely overstaying that one, but he pops the locket. Now he's trying to make his way out. Finn goes right into the back line, and maybe this is the fight that Rogue have been waiting for. Goes under. He's going to have the Crimson Rush up and available. He wants to finish this one off, but now Selfmade's running. Rekkles is running, and Fnatic, they're going to make it out with their lives. They only lose Nemesis, Bwipo on slivers of life, as he recalls.
Every single fight that Rogue tried to take, it's always a 1-for-1, so Fnatic get away with murder one more time. I mean, here, I feel like Rogue had the option, after getting the initial TP out of Nemesis, to back away from the fight, right? But they do end up committing, probably because they do see Rekkles in the mid lane, but it's such an awkward position to fight in these tight quarters against Cassiopeia and against Ornn. Like, where are you gonna go? Fnatic are all sitting in one place while Rogue are completely split up, so the team fight approach for them is just absolutely miserable. There's not much they can do in that situation whatsoever. I think this just again speaks to the ability of Fnatic, even when they're getting picked, when they're getting caught off guard, to choose fights where they are going to be in a strong position. The awareness is very, very good, and then here it's just a miracle, honestly, that Fnatic are able to scurry away with so little HP, because if Finn picks up, you know, 2-3 extra kills on top of that, maybe that can turn the tides just a bit. You can see he has the finished rabbit on Sett cap now, but I don't think it's going to be enough gearing up for this Ocean Soul fight.
Yeah. And hugely crucial. We talked about the Baron being important, the Ocean Soul being important, and Fnatic are on the path to getting both. And you got to give credit to Hylissang in that last fight, dunking down on Inspired, and you think you burned so many major cooldowns on Inspired, maybe Rogue can turn the fight, but because they don't find that opportunity, now the Baron's in the hands of Fnatic, but they're not using it right now. Instead, they're looking for the full on 5-5. They got the Ocean Soul as well, and you have to feel like that's the final nail in the coffin. This fight might just make you go from bad to worse. The kickback onto Hylissang to stop the engage from coming through. It's a bit of hope from the side of Rogue, but they don't have the reliable range to really harass Fnatic, especially with that Ocean Soul. Bwipo's just laughing all the way to the base as he walks it down mid.
Bwipo built a redemption. He's countering Rogue's circle comp with more circles, and it's working as he goes in the tower.
Double knockup. The follow-up's going to be here too. Rekkles standing on the back line, firing uncontested. Has now been proc. They want to get something done, but the dunk down is there from Hylissang. It's absolutely massive. The Sett performance is here for the Fnatic support, and while Finn is going to dive in, he's going to try to make the difference. He's only buying a bit more time, back to full health, but the knockup is there, the chain CC is there, and Fnatic are here to end the game, and just like that, Rogue going back and forth, trading 1-for-1, but Fnatic now poised to end.
Came down to team fighting, and Fnatic doing just that, smashing through the remaining members of Rogue. There's no one left in their way between them and the next.
While Rogue may now be locked into playoffs, Fnatic, with this win, have locked themselves in the top 4 alongside G2 and Origin.
Clean stuff coming through from Fnatic. I only got the last 15 minutes here on the desk with you, but honestly, Fnatic just won about every single team fight, even though Rogue tried to throw a couple of these sucker punches in there, going for picks in side lanes. Fnatic were just so willing to respond so quickly every time.
And the thing is like, Rogue looked like a good team. Fnatic just looked better. And I think that's the thing that's so incredibly difficult, is just these incremental advantages add up so fast. And gotta say, really good game across the board from Fnatic. The consistent pressure bot lane to make sure the Xayah Rakan didn't get to do anything. I was a little bit worried when we saw Sett. I mean, I know it's Rekkles Hylissang, but we saw Sett Ezreal. I was like, oh man, how is this lane actually going to play out? Xayah Rakan are a terror to deal with, but Fnatic just shut it down from minute 1.
Yeah, the 4v2 lane and bot worked very well for Fnatic, as it usually does in the majority of their games. I mean, I think the Sett support was an interesting one, especially against Rakan in particular. I think Sett's ult has a lot of really good value against Rakan, where it is that point-and-click hard CC, forces a Rakan to get a QSS if he wants to be safe in later fights especially, because you can just pick him up and instantly cut through the HP bar. So I did, as you said, like how Fnatic were willing to play around that bot side early on and make sure Rekkles had some breathing room to scale up, because with that lead, it didn't really feel like Hansam was ever in a really good position in terms of itemization against Rekkles either.
Yeah, I think that once you fall behind in that situation, there really is no coming back. Because while I think Xayah does really well, scales pretty well as far as 3-item carries go, I think she has a really smooth curve upward, you don't get to play when the Ezreal gets ahead, and when there's so much zone control on the enemy team. It was a truly miserable game. So while it was really good to see Larssen and Finn able to play and interact, Hansama was just a non-factor in this game.
Yep, it was unfortunate. And even then, Bwipo's itemization made the solo laners of Rogue a non-factor too, right? When you build these comps that are built, as you said, the shotgun, right? One punch to try and win the fight. Well, if you have a billion shields and a billion heals, you're just not going to be able to do that either.
Well, it's definitely a difficult scenario for Rogue, but the good news is they're locked playoffs. Fnatic are now locked top 4. Kia player of the game on Twitter, @LEC is the place.